Awesome. There we go. So welcome everyone. We had to miss last month, of course. Joe and I both being in Florida, and Milton and Helene, kind of keeping us on our toes. Hope a lot of our peers and friends in the state are okay. That was kind of a miserable couple of weeks. It actually made us miss, for one of the first times ever, a Cloudy County call just got completely skipped. We had a great topic lined up for you that was pretty current news
Yeah.
in that month. But now it is, I don't want to say it's old news, but it's been around for a little while. So our intention was to talk to you about what was called the Wave 2 announcements of Microsoft Copilot. So that is what we're going to talk about today because that was the original plan. If you're new here, this is a land grant focused community specifically for land grant working professionals, primarily extension professionals. But anybody affiliated with land grant is our friend, and we want to hang out with you. And there wasn't really anything like this that we were aware of, so that's why Joe and I kind of got going on this a couple of years ago. So
We
Joe,
uh we even have a new member from Canada, Saskatchewan. So
ooh,
it's pretty
worldwide
great
land
to
grant.
see some international extension folks joining us.
That's cool. Very, very cool. Awesome. Well, the typical flow is Joe will lead us through some like what's new stuff. Kind of ironic that pretty much everything in this month's session is what's new. So a little bit of demos we'll mix in there, showing some things, but some pretty big news. So I think it's very, very appropriate and very worthy of having the entire 1 hour dedicated to this news because it affects all of you in a good way. And all of you will have access to a lot of the stuff that we're going to show. So I think that's a
Great.
pretty big deal. Your institutions and organizations hopefully should be pretty pumped about all this.
All right, I'll get us started with yeah, we'll go through a few items that are what's new. The last roundup of the last couple months here. First thing I'm going to talk about is a couple apps have kind of got a fresh new look to them, new interface to them. First one we're going to talk about is SharePoint, and the first your view into SharePoint app. We go up to our app launcher, and I'm going to pick SharePoint, and this should be rolled out now. You should be seeing this new indication about trying SharePoint pages. SharePoint pages aren't new. SharePoint pages are perhaps a tool you've used in a team to collect. Maybe you've got a bunch of hyperlinks that are important to members of your team, and we sometimes recommend put those on a SharePoint page and bring that in as a tab in your team. Use that SharePoint that lives behind a team in different ways, and that's one of the ways we've talked about that sometimes is a SharePoint page. Real easy to create a SharePoint page. You don't need to know HTML. It's great for intranets, things like that. But this interface has changed a bit now. And try it now. This just basically launches you into an interface where they give you some templates to get started with creating a SharePoint page and some ideas of what you could do with it. So I'm going to pick let's try a newsletter template to start with. This is going to lay this template out for us. Beautiful banner. There's some basic text in here. These are different web parts. If you've not created a SharePoint page before, again, you don't really need to know HTML. You just, maybe it's helpful to look at some of these examples to get an idea of what you can do with a SharePoint page, how you can design it, how it's built. There's text web parts. There's image web parts that you can lay out. There's sections. We've got a 2-column section here that you can create and lay out. There's ways to bring in buttons and hyperlinks and other web parts into these kind of pages like this. We can say, hey, this is great. This is what I want. I've come in and edited it. Maybe I've made some images and pictures that are pertinent to what I want to talk about. But you can use this in a couple different ways. You could, we can publish this page, which will put it in your personal OneDrive. So a set of pages that are in your OneDrive that you can share out later. Sort of, you can think of it as like a little personal blog. You could share these pages out of information that's important that you want someone to know about, or you can publish it to a site. You could publish this into one of the teams you own. I'm just going to publish the page. It's going to go into my OneNote. I'm sorry, my OneDrive, and it's going to give me an idea of like, okay, it's published. There's some other things I could potentially do with this. I could again share this page, share it to someone. They could view it, get a link to that page, and I can also send as an email. This is a pretty cool idea here. I picked a newsletter, and it's actually going to be able to take that web page and make it look really great and very easily as an email. So if you've got some cool information you want to send out to people, this is a great way to catch their eye. Very quick and easy to make a great looking email that you can send internally. This is really meant for internal. So again, if you're trying to get out some information, something your extension agents need to know about, something research lab is working on, this is a great way to do that and publish that information. It's going to look looking really, really great. I'm going to see if I can just send that to myself real quick, get an idea what that looks like. But that's what it's going to look like. You've got any thoughts and ideas of emails that you send often? Definitely a cool way to kick that up a bit. Take advantage of there's stock images that you can pull out. So there's a lot of images you can use right in the SharePoint system itself. Take advantage of that. Let's see if
This
that
is
happened
this
to
is
come
pretty
through.
cool because you're kind of eliminating a lot of the extra fluff and overhead of running an entire SharePoint site. If you just want to put thoughts all in one place where it all makes sense being gathered together and you want to take advantage of all the cool little designs you could do with a SharePoint page, this is very powerful because you can collect everything and put it, look at what this thing looks like. Like this is it, and it rendered it in his mailbox. He didn't actually have to go to the page. You already got them. You know, when they click the email, they're already looking at the newsletter. It's actually rendering the entire page right there in the mail client, which is very, very powerful. And of course, yes, we know agents are very interested in analytics. So that's baked right into SharePoint. Really cool stuff too, like the heat map at the bottom. You get an idea of, hey, I sent out an email blast. How many people actually looked at it within 1 hour of me sending it out? Like you'll get that kind of data on that, and that's very useful for making decisions and figuring out what's working and maybe what's not working.
Yeah, maybe you need to send it a different way another time, things like that. Yeah, definitely getting some of those analytics. You've got something you want people, some new policies, procedures, something like that. You really want to get eyes on that. This is one way to help you see that. So you get unique viewers and how many times something's been viewed. Give you an idea. If you sent something to, you think maybe 30 people and there's been 10 unique viewers, you probably need to hit them again with that information, perhaps in a different way, a post into a team or something like that.
I've
Take
used
advantage of
that
that.
trick. Like SharePoint is very good about giving you analytics in lots of different places, even files. You know, that's a great reason to not use file attachments. Like old school file attachments is, you miss out on stuff like this. If you use a file link, well, then you have analytics of, well, who actually looked at the attachment. It's not the quote unquote attachment. Joe and I used to use that trick a couple of times if we were about to approach some big project and there was some big announcement and we needed to let the site know, like, hey, we're coming. Here's here's what we're doing, and we sent that email out. And I got, it went to 100 people and 10 people looked at it. Kind of gave me a good idea of how things were going to go.
Well, yeah, definitely take advantage of it. I like how they've made it a little clearer, a little easier to dive into that. Take a look at some of those example templates. Give those a spin. Good way to just kind of learn how to create these pages. Take advantage of them. The next app that's gotten a little bit of a fresh interface is Microsoft Forms. So it's got kind of a simpler, modernized interface here. We've got a number of templates now that we have access to that we can explore different sets of them, different types. And we'll dive in a little bit. There's been some updated analytics we can take a look. But yeah, the first is just a template gallery. Again, just to get an idea of what you can do with Microsoft Forms. Definitely one of our favorite tools. Again, we know there's reasons to collect data, collect information, get responses from the citizens you work with is important. Here's an example for community volunteer registration. We work with a lot of agents, with a lot of volunteers. A quick template to get started with. You can come in and change the background images, the type of data you're collecting. There's radio buttons. There's checkboxes, multiple selection capabilities with these. And you can get this kind of very quickly to see an idea and get started with this. You've, we got a preview up here. You can kind of get an idea of what that's going to look like. Walk through that. Send that out. You can use a QR code with these. They'll give you a short URL to get access to these. You can send out and have people access them. We really love those also internally. While we're talking about this, is some of the settings are right here. You want to take a look at. The seems to default to just having people in your own organization to fill out the form, which is cool. That's great if you can automatically collect their name. So if you really have something that's important internally, you don't have to ask for their name. You don't have to ask for their email address. You get that automatically because they're going to authenticate to it. This kind of form looks like I'd probably want it to go anonymous where anybody can respond and collect that data. But yeah, just a great way to jump into these new templates and take a look at those. They've got, go back to forms and the gallery. We've got feedback and evaluations, application and registration forms, research studies, quizzes, assessments. So yeah, definitely a good way to help you understand some of the capabilities with forms now. And if we look at, let's pick one of these that's got some responses. Peanut butter survey. That's exciting. Some important information. What's your favorite style of peanut butter? When do you like to eat peanut butter? This is a pretty funny form we did at some point in the past. If we look at view responses now, so we've got an updated access to this analysis. They're giving us some insights now, a little bit deeper details into these. We've got this insights capability, give you some statistical information related to these result sets. We can come down into ratings and score distributions and things like that. So just make sure you can kind of see where those little extra information that's been given, and you can also dive into the details of each one of these now. They made it a little bit easier, giving you some better graphics, giving you a little bit of better analysis now.
Trying to remember when this happened.
I don't know.
What in the world?
I don't know. When do the results start coming in? Yeah, we have to look at the full Excel file. But yeah.
It's your favorite day of the week to eat peanut butter.
I don't know. There's not, there's not all above, right? I don't know.
I know.
Yeah, you could always open this in Excel.
Yeah, this kind of changed too recently. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the ability to synchronize your responses into an Excel file has been improved, and that feature set has changed. I go back to forms. That's in yours, Dwayne, so I might not be able to work on that one. Let me open up. Yeah, let me open up one of these. Once we get some responses, I can do that. Let's see if I can find one.
Yeah. Well, some of you may have gotten an email or notification, but basically what happened is you could always link an Excel workbook to a Microsoft Forms form. And you could do some really useful things with that because if you had a team, for instance, and you put an Excel workbook in a team, and then you know, bound it to a form, then that meant that anytime that form was filled out, the data was shoved into that Excel document, and that document was always up to date with whatever the output was. You didn't have to go export the data set from the survey tool. And Joe and I, in our experience, a lot of people, once they realized that, they really appreciated that. Well, Microsoft kind of tweaked the way that that is done, the relationship between the form and the Excel file, which required some older forms that had been running for using the older mechanism to be updated. And they made it easier to do it after the fact. It was really annoying if you created the form and didn't link it to an Excel workbook to get the Excel workbook generated post forms creation. So this thing that Joe's showing here definitely makes that process a lot easier.
Yeah, we're given this capability again right from the start without having to go through some of those uh, other workflows to do that. You could say
Oops.
again, if you were stuck in you started off with forms before, you pretty much would have to kind of go to a Power Automate, a workflow engine to kind of get that into an Excel file later. So yeah, now right here, open in Excel. Um, and it will provide that for you. It's going to put it in my OneDrive. I can start seeing that and accessing that directly now. So that's, and then you could share this file out to people, give them read access to it. So if somebody doesn't have, if you've created a form in a team, everybody in the team can work with it. Everybody can see the results and help you edit it. But if you put this into your own personal set of forms, but you want to not have to download an Excel file and share it out with people, continually do that. This is a way where you could share the results directly with someone as they come in and take advantage of that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is I think we got a chance to talk about this before, but something we want to highlight a bit is perhaps some of you have been experiencing AI bots joining your meetings. It could be happening in Teams, it could be happening in Zoom. There's a few different products out there that will do this. They'll automatically join your meeting. They'll sit there, take a transcription, and then they'll kind of do a little viral thing where they'll send out that transcript to everybody that joined that meeting, and try to get them to join up and use that service too. I know at a number of educational institutions, and you can see the issue that this venture capital firm had. Uh, Having that transcript leave that organization is not something they often want to have happen. So if you don't catch those AI bots and maybe block them at a lobby or something like that, it's a little hard to do. There's a new preview option that we've seen starting to roll out that has to have somebody at your organizational level turn this on. But there's going to be an option coming up. It's in preview, so hopefully this in some form continues to roll out. But basically, if you're an anonymous person, you've not authenticated into Microsoft Teams, you're not in a personal account or something like that, you're going to basically come through as anonymous, and you're going to get prompted to go through a CAPTCHA system here, which an AI bot currently is not going to make it through this. So this is one way to help block those bots, those robots from coming through. It's not on by automatic, it's in preview. If it is something that you're encountering that's gotten pretty bad, or you know that maybe at your institution you've been told to kind of watch for these and block them, this might be something you can bring up to your organizational Microsoft 365 admins, and see if it's something that they are willing to turn on while it's in preview. This is something down the road where you might encounter this. You come in anonymously into somebody else's meeting. If they've turned that on, this is what you might encounter with that situation. thing I want to talk about is occasionally this will happen. And I want to give you an idea that what another reason why we love Teams so much is it helps IT get out of your way. You can create a team of people that are important to you, share files, collaborate, things like that, manage that membership of those people, manage who has access to those files you care about without IT being needed. Something else that I want to show you that can happen is you can actually restore a team that you've deleted yourself also. So if you accidentally are doing some cleanup, delete the wrong project team, maybe they're named a little slightly the same, there is a way to come in and access a list of all the groups that you are manage. And for every Microsoft team that's generated, there is a Microsoft 365 group behind the scenes. That's kind of the membership provider who has who's an owner, who's a member, but that's sort of the container for that team. And there's a view to that that I'm going to drop into chat here that you can check out. It's myaccount.microsoft.com is one of the easier ways to get access to that. You'll also find it typically under your profile account. You'll see where it says view account, your profile icon, view account. That will get you into that same place where you can see a list of groups that you participate in. And there is a deletion listing. You've got 30 days once you delete a team to restore that. If you're an owner, or somebody else deletes it. As long as you're an owner, you're going to see this. You can restore that team. So definitely something that can save you from having to call IT, save you from having to wait around to if you've made a mistake like that.
Hopefully
With
this
that,
tidbit saves you
restore
from
group.
having a freak out.
Yes, just like your files, delete a file, delete a channel. Those are all can be restored. Things like files, you've got about 90, a little over 90 days to restore those. A channel or a team, you've got 30 days. But yeah, there's something there to save you. We know sometimes you're working with a lot of teams, a lot of channels. They can be named the same. One way to kind of take care of that process. So about halfway in, I think we want to make sure we got time for our deep dive subject. And I think that's what I've got for some what's new. Actually, you know what?
Go
One
for
more
it,
thing
Joe.
got rolled out. Yep. Let me pull this. Clipchamp. Talked about this before. Something new has come to this. I'm just going to start a new video project. Clipchamp, our video editing tool that we have. Um, there is something now that's rolled out for us. Is a brand kit. We should be able to see the ability to create a brand kit. What is a brand kit? Well, I'm going to create a brand kit. I can put it right in my OneDrive. If I want to, I could put this into a team if I wanted to. I'm going to stick it here, and I'll just call it Cloudy County Call. Open it up. Now I've got an option to bring in a bunch of files in here. I can bring in logos. I can set different colors. I can set fonts, images. I can bring in videos, certain graphics, music, sounds, things that you might lay over the top of and integrate into a video production that you can use with Clipchamp. So if you've got a bunch of logos for your extension program, a specific set of colors for your university, certain fonts you want to use, you can make a brand kit. Someone can make a brand kit. Maybe you've got a marketing team that could help you do this. Make that brand kit. You can share it then with other people, and they'll import it into their Clipchamp instance and can take advantage of that. So you could, again, bring in graphics and logos and videos, things that might help you get started making, you want to make a short video, you want to put on Facebook or YouTube or something like that and have some tools available for that. This brand kit will help you take advantage of that now. That'll do it. How about that?
That'll do, pig. That'll do. Thanks, Joe. All right. We're going to get into, like I said before, technically some more what's new, because we're going to talk about uh, mid-September, Microsoft had this blog post go live. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to talk about what is known as Copilot Wave 2. Ride the wave into the future for the Delta Quadrant. If you're Voyager. Was it Delta or Gamma? I can't remember. Somewhere really far away. Nerds. Anyhow, so Copilot Wave 2 came out, yeah, mid-September, and this brought some really good changes to the service, but some of these changes are very visual, like you will see things look very different. A couple of highlights from this page that I think are really important is number one, that right there. So Copilot being out for about a year, 700 updates, and 150 of those were new features. So if anybody wants to like take any advice about my stance on this from a user's perspective, be comfortable with change and expect things to change. It changes on me pretty much every day. One of the biggest changes before I get into like some of this stuff is the actual entry point of how you get to Copilot. That changed. And there is a significant difference now between what Copilot would look like for a work or school user and what Copilot would look like for a Hotmail or an Outlook.com or an unauthenticated user. So if I open up copilot.microsoft.com and I open this up in a private browser window real quick so you can see I am not signed in with a work or school account, look at what I get. I have this gradient background. It's talking to me. I click get started. It's asking me what it should sound like. Okay. I'm not sharing my sound, but trust me, it's
if you choose.
There we go. So let's see what Grove sounds like. Meadow.
Let's explore the world together.
Awesome.
I can be your sound.
This looks very different. So if you see anything that looks like this, you are not in Work Copilot, and this is what you should do next. You should click out and close it. Sometimes there was for a while an automatic redirect. So if I'm signed in, I say there was for a while, like it started a while back, that if I am already signed in with my work account and I try to go to copilot.microsoft.com, it will auto redirect me to the right experience. And you can see how different this looks from the weird, like, hey, my computer's talking to me now experience that I had over on the consumer side. Ultimately, this is what you need to be looking for. Is you always want to make sure if you have a license or not, if you just want to make sure you're signed in with your work or school account for your organization, and you'll know that if you see that green shield up at the top right corner. If we click on that shield, why is it going over there? You'll see enterprise data protection is a little hyperlink to it. This is a really big deal because previously we used the term commercial data protection. And really, technically, what that meant was you're using the consumer Bing chat experience, later called Copilot, but with the guarantee that whatever you do there, we're not going to keep it. We're going to delete your session. We're not going to retain any information. We're not going to train the large language models using your data and your information. And that was very important, but it wasn't quite good enough because organizations wanted governance. They wanted guarantees. They wanted the same level of protection that you get with the paid Microsoft 365 Copilot. And so now you can see they're being lumped together. What is enterprise data protection in Microsoft 365 Copilot and Microsoft Copilot? They're both covered by the same, contracts, if you will, in a sense, like the same terms, the same commitments that are being applied. This is a really, really, really really big deal because this unblocks maybe some data types that you were told, hey, I can't use Copilot with that data type. There's only one data type that you should be concerned about right now. Microsoft Copilot is under review for HIPAA compliance. Microsoft 365 Copilot for properly configured implementations, thumbs up, green light. What is a properly configured implementation? Well, that's up to you and your organization to figure out on how to do. But that's the only thing. That's the only data type that you should ask a question about, in my opinion. Obviously, talk to your security and your risk people and see what they say. But this was a big deal, an unblocker. This is probably the biggest announcement from the entire show. There are some things, however, that unfortunately have not made it yet into it. So I'll drop a link in the chat to this article that I'm about to scroll down on. We scroll down to features. There are some features that are not available in Microsoft Copilot yet. And Microsoft Copilot is the free one that everyone with an M365 license has. If you are at a work or school and you sign in, you have Microsoft Copilot. Some things didn't make it at launch. And Joe, I'm actually seeing some on the screen right now that weren't listed as being available just like a week ago. Primarily, I'm thinking of this one. So this one was not available just a couple weeks ago. And so that's proof that they are working on getting those into the new version of Copilot with enterprise data protection. So when we made the switch to enterprise data protection, it came at the cost of losing a couple of features. Some of the ones that people are really concerned about that I understand entirely. Joe had a great use case that he brought up of image upload. Joe, you want to talk about that for a second? You had some people doing some pretty interesting tasks with this.
Well, one of them was using it to help you write a like alt text for an image is helpful. So it's really a pretty amazing how it will look at an image. And I think I had some demos of like a bird on a branch of some sort. Pull out the type of bird and just give you a really nice visual description. That's a really quick, easy way to get something that is a little bit more than I think in our case was a bird on a branch. Definitely more descriptive. Great for alt text.
Yeah, if
for
you're
those
running the
purposes.
accessibility checker in PowerPoint and you're missing a lot of alt text,
Yeah.
that was a great way to knock out a bunch of alt text with high quality alt text, not just a bird on a branch.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that coming back. Image upload was a great capability, but it does say an anticipated timeline of their return. So coming soon, right? We'll say or coming back soon. So this link is useful. I did drop this in the chat. There are a couple of things that are not going to come back at all. Like these features are not going to come back. There is no intention or plan to bring back the tone selector, for instance. The tone selector is a little silly anyway, because you can specify the tone that you want Copilot to use in the prompt that you give it. We've talked a little bit about prompting before, and it's really important. It's the most essential skill that you will learn to be successful with generative AI is prompting. If your prompt stinks, your output might not be so great. You want a high quality prompt. Another thing that's a little bit interesting as well is uploading files. So you're going to see Nestor here. He's using Copilot. He does not have an M365 Copilot license, but he has a paperclip icon and he can browse and he can upload files. So he could pick something from his documents. I don't know, bacon. No idea what's in this document. Who knows? Summarize this file, and I can upload this file and ask questions about it. I'm kind of scared, Joe. I don't know what's in here. Apparently it's talking about Python. I don't know. I don't know why I have a file called bacon that's talking about Python. Yeah. Uh, but you get the idea is I was able to take a file and basically uh, leverage the large language model against the file. So upload a report, ask questions about the report, ask for suggestions on how to improve the report, ask Copilot to act like it's whoever you're going to give the report to. So if it's your boss, be my manager for a minute. Tell Copilot to pretend and say, what are your top 5 concerns or criticisms or suggested improvements about this report? Or you're giving it to a higher education dean or a information chief information security officer. You could do all kinds of cool stuff with file upload, and looking forward to image upload coming back.
Interesting to upload, perhaps no extension agents are producing like annual reports of work that they've completed sometimes. Maybe upload that and ask questions like, what are some of the more significant things that I've done, and how they were impactful, and maybe get a little outline ready to go when you kind of maybe talk with your supervisor about your work.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're working on an impact report, and you've got a blurb of something that you did, one of my favorite things to do is to use the dictate function in Microsoft Word, and I just tell my story of here's the thing that I did, and then I ask Copilot, can you please rewrite this statement in a professional yet enthusiastic tone that is emphasizing my individual or team or what fill in the blank kind of impact that I made on this project. And it will wordsmith it for you and help give you some great insights on a different way to say the same thing with a little bit more finesse, we'll call it. Florida man here, not so good with words. Uh, the other couple of things that we can talk about is, and the reason why I say that is because I was looking at the clock. Some of the changes that were made are applicable to Microsoft 365 Copilot. The naming of the products now is kind of in alignment to make sense. Microsoft Copilot is free. It's quote unquote free. It's included with all licensing. In education, there are free licenses. So yes, you could make the case that it's free. Microsoft 365 Copilot is connected to Microsoft 365. That's the one that's a paid add-on. That one is available inside your applications. Like when you open up, Microsoft Word, for instance, you'll see Copilot built right into the application. So you can draft content or ask questions about content. Joe and I have done some brief demonstrations of this before, but I just wanted to point out that the name of it, like when you're reading and you see something say like, oh, this is for Microsoft 365 Copilot. Okay, now I understand it. It makes sense. There's some stuff on here that in the announcement that right now is only available for M365 Copilot, but will be coming to the free version of Copilot. So right now it says for Pages, which is one of the new features, it starts rolling out today for Microsoft 365 Copilot customers. And it did say on this page, or does say somewhere, that it will be available to Microsoft Copilot in the coming weeks. I don't know how many weeks that is, but it says in the coming weeks. Well, what is a page, you said? Okay, you want to know what pages are. Well, if I were to ask Copilot, what are the top 5 things a homeowner would need to know to grow strawberries in their backyard in Florida? And I get these top 5 answers, and I'm like, oh, this is really good stuff. Well, what do I do with it now? How do I pull this information out and either send it to a colleague or add more additional thoughts to it. So that's why pages were created. They're actually powered by Microsoft Loop, which is one of our favorite apps. We've talked about Loop as well. But there's a button here that just says click edit in pages. And what this is going to do is now it's going to give me this side-by-side view. I've got Copilot stuff I'm making and asking about over here on the left. And then over on the right, I've got the information that it just brought over. But now I can edit this. So I don't need it to say, it literally just copy pasted from left to right. I don't need that part, so I can delete that. I can add my own notes and say like, I want something super sweet. So let me ask Copilot, what is it? Species, breed? Breed. We'll go with breed. Strawberry is considered to be the sweetest. I got a sweet tooth. Okay, I'm curious of my agents on the call. Is this right? I don't know. But if I click edit in pages, notice what it's going to do. Boom, it just moved it over to the right. So now I can actually start to build this out, and I can say, I don't know what that one is. I think I'm down between Alpine and Sweet Charlie. Sweet Charlie it says sweet in the name. It must be right. So I can actually start building out a document. And this is nice. This is convenient, great way to do this without having to leave my generative AI like assistant over here on the left. Maybe I want to share this with someone. So once I'm good to go, I can click on the share button. And I can either share the entire page that I created, or if you remember our loop presentation, I can create a component out of this. And I want to share this with maybe Dakota Sanchez. And I'm going to give her edit access. And I click apply. And now if I open up my email, I can send Dakota an email. I can just paste this in, and it's going to build out that whole component. And when I send this over to Dakota, she can just start editing it. And I could say like, strawberries. Sorry, this is kind of a janky demo, but you get the idea. So when I send that over to her, and let me go back to my page. So I've sent this to Dakota, and if I can get Dakota's email to come up, I'll actually jump into that component and I'll start editing it. So you can see on my left screen, the DS at the top, that's Dakota Sanchez. And now she's clicking around inside of this and she can start, editing, deleting text. And now I can continue to dump AI generated material from my Copilot session into this, and Dakota can live like refine it and work on it with me. So they've used the term like multiplayer AI. I think, Joe, have you heard that? Multiplayer AI? Kind of fun.
Something while you're in there is I wanted to make sure people remembered is that you can create. So image creation in there too is in the now don't have to go out to Bing/create, Bing.com/create. You can do that now right in the free Microsoft Copilot integrated here.
Look appetizing, like a produce setting. The photo should be realistic. This is not a great prompt. I'm winging it, but yes, image generation is built directly into work chat now and web chat. So if you don't have this toggle at the top, it's because you don't have a Copilot license. That's okay. If you're on the web side or you don't see a toggle at all, you just have web. Image generation is available there. Image generation for folks who have the Copilot license is also available directly in PowerPoint now, which is pretty sick. So if you're working on a PowerPoint presentation, like this image right here, I created this with Copilot. So this was, stormwater runoff. I was making a presentation on how to build a rain barrel. I didn't have an image that I liked on the slide, so I just asked Copilot to create the image for me and then copied it over. Guess what? You are never, ever, ever gonna have some sort of situation where somebody says that image has a copyright on it, because that image didn't exist until you asked Copilot to create it, and you are absolutely free and clear and allowed to use it for whatever the heck you want to use it for. I think what a blessing that is, right? Joe and I have talked to a lot of agents that were concerned about concerned about stuff like that. So I'm going to click copy on this, and then I think, yeah, paste. So now I've dropped it in my strawberry. So I'm building out this ideation process of what I'm going to do for growing and selecting and what I want strawberries to look like. I guess if I want to, after I pick them from my garden, I could put them in a basket. I don't know. But yeah, good call out, Joe. I have lots of capabilities here all in one screen, never really leaving the interface.
I was just calling out in chat real quick that the Bing images, because we know it's important about images that go out on the internet and things like that, that there's a verifiable way to prove that AI generated those images. So if there's something that looks close, perhaps, there's a credential basically embedded in those images and a way to verify those when you're generating them with Copilot.
Yep. And some services call that out now too. Like I saw LinkedIn. If you just take it straight from Copilot and put it right on LinkedIn, it's actually built into the platform to say, hey, that image was generated with AI, which is interesting. And if you want to dig deeper into the metadata of the file, you can pull that out as well to see that it was generated by AI. Let's see. Let's go back to our blog. Python and Excel. I'm not a Python expert, but there's the ability now to do advanced analysis of data, and it will leverage Python behind the scenes. Joe, I don't know. I heard something about pandas and something else.
Yeah, that is it's not yet available in the current channel. So if you are in Office current channel preview, basically you're in a preview version of Microsoft 365 Office desktop products. If you got a administrator, can switch you over to the preview version of that. You then will have the ability to do analysis of your Excel data with Python directly inside of Excel.
Yeah.
Significance there to me is Python's number of versions and number of modules connected to Python that you might use can get kind of hairy keeping track of those. That's all managed for you automatically. You just need to know your Python language. You don't need to stand up and run and understand how to install and use Python on your.
Copilot and PowerPoint has some new experiences where when you want to kick off the creation of a PowerPoint presentation, you can get into what is called narrative builder. So as PowerPoint comes up, if I just kick off the create a presentation part here and I do my rain barrel thing, click go, it's not going to build the presentation for me immediately. It's going to build the outline of the presentation. So I have an opportunity here to dial it in a little bit more. So if I scroll up, I see my sections. So the presentation will also be more organized. You'll get automatic sections and title slides and stuff for each section. If I want to change the sequence for some reason, I can grab this little handle right here and I can kind of move it around. I can add additional sections. So if I say, not on, include the Logical benefits for installing a rain barrel with quotes from recent studies. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. If I had data points in a file already, I could reference that file, and that would force and encourage Copilot to use the data points from, like, let's say a Word document or something like that. So I can click that, and you can see all these different file types I can pick from. So Word documents and PDFs should be sources I could use. Darn it.
That interface is
I hit escape and killed the whole process.
Significantly better than the first one, because it would build all your slides out for you. And
Yeah.
it was a greater effort to kind of do exactly what you're doing here, which is a kind of preset up the information you want to go into slides, instead of having the slides generated first and having to basically delete slides, move slides around.
Yeah. So I said add a section about the ecological benefits of installing it. So stormwater runoff, decreased demand, improved groundwater recharge are all things that identified. And if I click generate, it's still not touching the PowerPoint yet. You can see in the background, it's working it out. And then it will drop all the slides on the deck. And as Joe was saying, the other experience, like, kind of did it. And then you know, it was a little bit different. Everyone always asks about templates. You know, can I make this use my templates? And the answer is yes. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. Number one, you can just open the template first. So if you open a template and it's already defined, like fonts and colors and images and placeholder slides and stuff like that, you can just start from the template, and then it will build out and maintain that template style. So here's what it generated for me. If I click keep it, it will include all that content. You can see the images are relatively on topic. So I've got a gutter with a barrel there. That's interesting. That's a waterfall rain barrel. Sprinklers, a sundial, different kinds of artsy things, some pots, more pots, even more pots, and tools. So I like this presentation. I could do something with this and run with it. I also get my speaker notes as a part of this as well, are generated for me. So the part that you saw in the intro was narrative builder. That is the new part of Copilot, along with the ability to tell Copilot to build an on-brand presentation. We'll use something called the organization asset library. Some schools may have that set up, some may not. But when you go file new and you see all these themes, you'll see a part right here that says, organization. You can pick templates that your company or your school has uploaded to the system, and automatically distribute those to everybody in the entire organization to be able to use those officially sanctioned, like, here's our templates, which is pretty cool.
So starting with a template, you've got your branding that you're supposed to follow. And then if you use an existing, say there's an existing set of documents, an existing file from your organization on Rain Barrel creation, and you use that to start with, your presentation is going to probably match the design you're supposed to use, and it's using the knowledge that your organization generated as the grounding for the data that's in that slide deck. Really great way to basically get that first draft almost fully completed for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you're building a presentation on something and you open up a template and use this to define the structure and then click go, you'll have a presentation that you can just start honing and dialing in maybe like 2 or 3 minutes total. So I'm using a template that was in my history that I've used before, but I'm going to go ahead and let it build this out, and I'll just run with it. Moving fairly quickly today. I'll give it that. So keep it. So you can see it inherited the title slides that were in the template. So those built right in for me. It also kept the theming at the bottom, page numbers, fonts that were specified are all being used and reused. Very similar presentation with similar imagery. My tool lists, tool images different. But yeah, you can start with your official templates and it will it'll maintain those templates. I know we're over, but there's one more thing I wanted to show real quick, and it's probably one of the most exciting. So no, don't save. And it is creating an agent. And this is a part of M365 Copilot. So if you've got a team and that team has stuff in it, right? So I've got all these documents that talk about a warranty for a device, and I want to use Copilot, but I only want Copilot to answer using the information that's stored there. Well, I have this really cool capability now in SharePoint to create an agent, and I'll open it. I mean, you see how quickly that went. I can say, how long is the E900 warranty? So what I basically just did in, I don't even know, 3 seconds is I created a chat experience that is only going to consider the things that are in the site. So if you had a SharePoint site with tons of information in it, policies, procedures, standard operating procedures, whatever it might be, you could make a chat experience that's exclusive to that in just a couple of seconds, and then ask questions about it. So you've done the grounding on the front side, and now I can ask whatever I want to know, knowing it's only going to answer questions about this. Doc library of resumes, doc library of whatever, whatever you want. That
I'm
was
thinking
how
of
fast.
the documents agents produce for their citizens sitting
Yeah.
in a document library like this. You probably
Yeah.
have hundreds of documents that you pass out and give out or make available to download. Well, imagine if you as an agent have the ability to kind of chat with that set of knowledge, and would be pretty amazing. Better than just searching for documents and then reading through those if you need to pull out something quickly and consolidate and summarize across a few of those documents. They're all sitting in an agent like that at your fingertips.
Yeah, you made a chat bot more or less that's laser focused on the content that you want it to be focused on. So it's kind of fitting that we would end our extension agent themed presentation talking about agents. So I kind of had to squeeze that in there. So sorry, we went a couple minutes over. But hope you all enjoyed this belated version of Cloudy County. Sorry we missed last month. We'll hang out on the call for a little while if you have any questions or you want me to share my screen or dig into something a little bit deeper. But hopefully you see some ideas here, things that you can do, technologies you can use, and ultimately the goal is always make your life a little bit easier. That's what we want to do. So thanks everybody for your time. Appreciate it. I'll turn off the recording, and if you want to ask a question, go for it.